My phone lit up on the couch beside me. It was the dad texting from the restaurant, and all it said was, "Don't turn around. There's a man standing behind you. We can see him on the camera. Get the kids and get out." I was sitting in a stranger's living room at 9 at night, and I could feel now that I wasn't alone in it. Welcome back. Tonight, 3 true stories from people who did the most ordinary job there is, watching someone else's children in someone else's house after dark. It should be the safest thing in the world. It usually is. Usually. Let's begin. I babysat all through high school and into college. It was easy money, and I was good at it. Kids liked me. Parents trusted me. By the time I was 20, I'd sat for half the families in my neighborhood, and in all those years, nothing had ever happened. Not once. Which is exactly why I wasn't paying attention the night that it did. I want to be honest about that because I think it matters. I wasn't a nervous kid. I didn't check the closets. I didn't watch the windows. I'd sat in 100 dark living rooms, and the worst thing that ever happened was a toddler throwing up or a dog that wouldn't stop barking at the fence. You get comfortable. You stop treating other people's houses like strange places. You put your feet up on the coffee table and you treat it like your own. That comfort is a kind of blindness, and I didn't know I had it until the night something used it against me. It was a family I'd sat for maybe 3 times. A nice house, a new build, at the end of a quiet street where the developments give way to open field. 2 kids, a boy who was 6 and a girl who was 4. The parents had an anniversary dinner across town. They'd be back by 11, a completely standard night. I'd noticed the cameras the first time I sat for them. Little white ones up in the corners, one in the living room, one in the upstairs hall. The mom had mentioned them, a bit embarrassed, the way people are about that kind of thing. "We can check in on our phones, it's silly, just ignore them." So I did. You forget they're even there. I got the kids down easy that night, both asleep by 8:30. I came back downstairs, made myself a cup of tea, and settled onto the couch with the TV turned low. The house did that thing that old houses and new houses both do. The little ticks and sighs as it cools down for the night. I wasn't scared. I need you to understand that. I felt completely calm. That's the part I still can't explain looking back. I felt calm right up until my phone lit up. It was the dad. And the message was the one I told you at the very start. Don't turn around. There's a man behind you. We can see him on the camera. Get the kids and get out. I have never in my life felt my body go so cold, so fast. Because your first instinct, every single cell in you, is to turn around and look. And he told me not to. So I sat there, frozen, staring at that phone, and I did the only thing I could think of. I typed back one word. "Where?" The 3 dots came up. Then his answer. "Behind the couch. He's crouched down low. He's been there the whole time. We're calling the police right now. Do not turn around. Walk to the stairs. Get the kids. Lock yourselves in the bathroom." I got up like I was getting up to refill my tea. I don't know how I did it. I have played that walk back in my head 1,000 times since. It was maybe 15 feet from that couch to the bottom of the stairs. 15 feet. It felt like a mile. I kept my eyes forward and I made my legs move at a normal, easy pace, and the whole time there was this animal part of my brain screaming that if I went any faster it would too. that the only thing keeping it crouched behind that couch was the fact that it believed I didn't know it was there, so I couldn't let it see that I knew. I had to walk away from the most frightened I have ever been in my entire life, like I was strolling off to top up a cup of tea. I got to the top of the stairs, and then I ran. I got both kids up and into the bathroom, the little girl crying, the boy too scared to make a sound. I locked the door and put my back against it and held them both, and I did not breathe right until I heard the sirens. The police were there in 6 minutes. It felt like 6 hours. They cleared the whole house, and they found where he'd been. Behind the couch, yes, but also the mud smeared on the laundry room windowsill where he'd climbed in. And in the coat closet by the front door, they found a folded blanket, an empty water bottle, and a phone charger plugged into the wall. He had been living in that closet for days. The officer told me what they pieced together afterward. He'd been getting in through that laundry room window, the one that never quite latched, on the nights he knew the house would be asleep or empty. He'd learned the family's rhythm. He knew when the parents worked late. He knew when the kids napped. He knew when the sitter came. He'd been close enough in that coat closet to hear the children's bedtime stories through the wall. Close enough to hear me on the phone, and the only reason the parents caught him at all was that they'd happened to open the app to check on me at the exact moment he chose to come out of that closet and cross the room behind me. I don't babysit anymore, and I'll tell you the thing that truly finished it. When the officer walked me back through to get my bag, I looked up at that little white camera in the corner of the living room, and I thought about all the nights I'd sat under it feeling watched and telling myself it was nothing. It was never nothing. That camera never blinked, and it still hadn't seen enough. The next woman in tonight's stories didn't have any cameras at all, just a 4-year-old boy, and the thing he'd started talking to every night on the other side of his closet door. At first it was cute. Kids have imaginary friends. It's normal. This one, the boy said, lived in his bedroom closet and only came out at night. He called him the tall man. She'd hear the boy in there after lights out, chatting away, doing that one-sided little kid conversation. She didn't think a thing of it. Then the things the boy said started to change. He'd come to breakfast and tell her what the tall man had told him in the night. And the tall man knew things. He knew that she'd been on the phone late with her boyfriend and what they had argued about. He knew she kept a spare key under the 3rd flower pot on the porch. One morning, the boy said, completely matter-of-fact, spooning up his cereal, "The tall man says you shouldn't sleep so deep. He says he stands over you and you never wake up." She started sleeping with her door locked after that. She told herself she was being ridiculous, that she was letting a 4-year-old's game crawl right under her skin. But she locked it anyway, and in the mornings she'd find things moved. Her hairbrush on the floor across the room, a kitchen chair turned to face the hallway. Little things. Things a restless child could have done. If a restless child had been awake and roaming the house at 3 in the morning, except the boy slept like the dead. She checked on him every single night. He never moved a muscle till morning. The night it ended, she was putting him to bed, and he asked her not to close the closet door. She asked him why. And he said, "Because he doesn't like it when you close it. He told me. He says if you close it again, he'll come out and stand in your room instead." So she checked that closet, fully. She pushed the hanging clothes aside and felt along the back wall with her hand. Nothing. Just a closet. And she felt like an idiot, and she almost laughed. That's the detail I can't get past every time I retell this. She felt like an idiot. That's how good it is at hiding, whatever this was. It lets you walk all the way to the very edge of relief. It lets you laugh at yourself and reach for the light switch. It waits until you've completely decided that you were being silly. And then, that night, from her own room down the hall, she heard the boy's closet door slide open on its track. That specific sound. And she heard the boy half asleep murmur, "You're not supposed to come out." And a voice she did not know, low and calm and fully grown, answered him. It said, "I know." She got the boy out through his bedroom window and across the dark yard to the neighbor's house. The police came. They searched every room, the closet, the attic above it, the crawl space. They didn't find anyone, but in the crawl space over the boy's room they found a hole cut into the closet's back wall, a neat hole, one you could reach an arm through if you knew it was there. A hole the boy's hanging clothes had covered completely. Nobody could tell her how long it had been there. Nobody could tell her whose it was. The dad sold the house. She quit nannying for good, and she told me the last thing the boy ever said to her on the drive to his grandmother's, still buckled into his car seat looking out the window. "Don't be sad. The tall man says he can find a new house easy. He says there's always a closet." A closet needs walls to hide behind. What's left in tonight's last story doesn't even need that much. Just a sleeping baby, a microphone, and a breath that isn't hers. She was watching a baby, an actual infant, 6 months old, for a couple down the block. One of those video monitors, the kind that shows the crib on your phone in that grainy night vision green, and picks up sound too. She'd put the baby down at 7 and settled in downstairs, the monitor propped on the coffee table where she could see it. She'd done this 100 times. Newborns are the easy jobs. You feed them, you change them, you put them down, and mostly they sleep while you do your homework on the couch. That monitor was almost a comfort thing. The soft green picture, the little sound of breathing filling up the quiet house. She used to say it was like having a nightlight that breathed. She doesn't say that anymore. Around 10, the baby was sound asleep. She could see it on the screen, the tiny chest going up and down, and she could hear it, that soft, steady newborn breathing coming through the speaker, peaceful. She had it on more for the company than anything. Then, she noticed the breathing didn't match. The baby on the screen was breathing slow, but the breathing coming through the speaker was faster than that, heavier, and it was close, much closer to the microphone than the baby was. The baby was across the crib. This was right down on the mic, like something was leaning in close to that little monitor right beside the sleeping child and breathing into it. She stared at the screen, the baby, alone in the crib, nothing else in the frame. But the breathing kept coming through the speaker, slow and wet and far too near, filling her living room from a nursery where there was no one at all but a sleeping infant. She ran up those stairs 2 at a time. She threw the door open, and the second that door opened, the breathing on the monitor stopped. Not faded, not moved away. Stopped. Cut off clean, the instant the door swung in. The way a person holds their breath when they hear you coming. The baby was fine. Alone. Asleep in the crib. The window latched. The room completely empty. There was nothing there, but the monitor in her hand, had gone silent. No breathing at all now, not even the babies. She finished that job. She had to. The parents were an hour away, and she was not going to leave a baby alone in that house. So she sat in the nursery for the rest of the night, in the chair beside the crib, with every light in the room turned on, holding the monitor in her lap and watching the little green screen show her the exact room she was sitting in. And not once, for the rest of that night, did the monitor pick up the sound of the baby breathing, even though she could hear it herself right there in front of her, plain as day. Whatever had been close enough to breathe into that microphone had done something to the sound. It had taken the baby's breath off the feed, like it wanted her to keep glancing down at that screen and thinking every time that the crib was empty. She never figured out what was on the other end of that microphone, whether it came from inside the house or found its way onto the feed some other way. She only knows what she heard. Something breathing, close and slow, beside a baby that wasn't hers to lose. And she knows that the moment she opened that door, it heard her coming. That's all for tonight. If you made it this far, then you already know the dark is more interesting with a little company. So, subscribe and hit the bell, because there's a new true horror story here every single night, and I would hate for you to miss one. Drop a like so the next person finds it after dark, and share this with the friend who always says babysitting is easy money. I'll be right here tomorrow night when the lights go down. Sleep well, if you can.
Like, share, and subscribe for daily horror stories every single day.